Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Tuesday's edition of Alaska Weather. Up on the warning advisory watch chart here, no watches or warnings out, but the winter weather advisory continues here for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast out to the west for another 2 to 4 inches of snow tonight with northeast winds gusting to 50 miles an hour. So that's going to create visibilities to, well, that will drop visibilities at times to less than a half a mile. And that's out through tonight. And then there's winter weather advisories also out for the Yukon Delta here and up over the Seward Peninsula for 1 to 2 inches of snow and southeast winds gusting to about 30 miles an hour. And that's out, I believe, through midday tomorrow. On the satellite, you can see low pressure here slowly moving northwestward right off the coast here, the Yukon Delta, and a band of clouds in over the northwest interior, kind of dropping back down into across south central Alaska. And you can see this area sort of filling in throughout the day today, and hence the snowfall is occurring over some areas, a mixture of rain and snow over the Kenai Peninsula and into Prince William Sound, then a break off to the east, and then this system down to the south of the Panhandle here, that bringing more wind and rain in across the southeast coast, with the heaviest rainfall and strongest winds occurring down along the south coast with gale force winds there. Dixon entrance up into Stevens Passage for gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour. Otherwise, not a bad day again out here over the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay area, with another low out here south of Amchitka Island and something of a front here extending from Shimia eastward, spreading some moisture and an increase in the winds over toward the eastern Aleutians during the afternoon hours. On the chart today, we did have some snow advance eastward there across Nikolsky and heading in toward the Unalaska area, and then that extends back to the west, areas of snow back to the west to Shimia with the stronger winds farther back toward the western Aleutians. And then the low center there just west of Cape Romanzoff this afternoon. Areas of snow from Cape Newenham up across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, again up to the Seward Peninsula, back down across St. Lawrence Island. Then a trough extending from the Kivalina area back down across the northwest interior. Areas of snow, again, mixture of rain and snow. Kenai Peninsula, especially down toward the coast there and into Prince William Sound. Mostly snow northern Cook Inlet, the western Susitna Valley areas, central interior back to the northwest. Areas of light snow, dry here over the central Tanana Valley, mostly dry or mostly definitely dry all the way up to the Arctic coast there. But there were some areas of fog and flurries again. Places like Kaktovik, Barter Island, Barrow, and Atasuk all had a little bit of light snow. Very light, just flurries, not amounting to much at all. That same sort of pattern occurring here in the Copper River Basin. A few snow showers around Gulkana and up around toward the Tok Northway area. And then some scattered showers here along the North Gulf Coast, Yakutat, back to about Cordova. And rainfall amounts today range from a half an inch in the last 24 hours at Cordova to about 3/4 of an inch over at Yakutat. And then the rain shield with this system brought 1.5 inches of rain over to Shelter Cove there, down over the southern panhandle areas. And for tonight, that front moves inland and another trough develops. That's going to keep it windy and wet here as that swings in later on tonight over the central and southern southeast coast. Again, the heaviest winds and rain will be down to the south, a lot less up to the north, just some scattered rain and snow showers, possibly dry here for the North Gulf Coast. And then periods of snow, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet on up into mostly the western Susitna Valley. Could see up to a couple inches tonight with this, and then areas of snow following that trough axis up across the Kobuk Valley, maybe the western Koyukuk. It's kind of a narrow band here. Otherwise off to the east, variably or mostly cloudy skies, a few flurries again over the eastern Alaska Range to partly cloudy skies from the upper Yukon Valley and across the Brooks Range in the North Slope. Hang on to some flurries there over the eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise, a little breezy here with some snow possibly as far north as Cape Lisburne. And again, the winter weather advisories for St. Lawrence Island, Seward Peninsula, down into the Yukon Delta as snow continues in those areas but begins to end, dries out over the Kuskokwim Delta. Variably cloudy skies over the Kuskokwim Valley areas here, lower Koyukuk all the way down into Bristol Bay. Partly cloudy skies, northwest breezes for Kodiak Island, and some isolated snow showers along the Alaska Peninsula on out into the Bering Sea, probably missing the Pribilofs altogether. And then this front here, that southeast wind flow, pulling milder air with it, so the precipitation area may back to the west a little bit and be in the mixture, or be mixed with rain at times. And then the whole thing may lift north of Adak and Atka, so chance of snow tonight, and Shimei looks more, has a better chance of seeing a precipitation. For the outlook for tomorrow, again, this low still off the coast, drifting a little farther to the north and gradually weakening. Still have a trough keeping it wet and breezy there across the central and southern southeast coast. Again, less precipitation, less wind up to the north. Scattered snow showers here over the eastern interior from possibly as far north as Eagle down across Northway into the southeast mountains there, the Wrangell Mountains. And then snow continues. This trough begins to pull back to the northeast tomorrow afternoon. So snow will continue across northern Cook Inlet. You can see ending to the south, clearing out over the southern inlet. Mostly clear Kodiak Island up across the southwest interior with a little bit higher pressure here extending down into Bristol Bay. This low center now up to near Teller, the center of that, so less wind for St. Lawrence Island. Conditions improving out there, maybe even ending altogether. Just some isolated snow showers tomorrow afternoon for the Yukon Delta coast. Periods of snow continue with areas of fog for the Seward Peninsula, up across Kotzebue Sound to Chukchi Sea, Kivalina to maybe Cape Lisburne, but from Point Lay on to the east, it should be dry with just some patchy fog. Light winds over the eastern North Slope and Brooks Range area there. That'll keep temperatures well below zero tomorrow. And just some isolated snow showers here over the eastern Bering Sea on into or on over toward the Pribilofs. And then this frontal system, again, keeping a chance of moisture in over the eastern Aleutians with southeast winds continuing to blow, and then scattered snow showers back out to the west where it's a little chillier. And for Friday, we'll see this low still off the coast, but much weaker now, so the showers become a lot more isolated to widely scattered here with some partial clearing for the panhandle with lighter winds. Also, most of the shower activity now off the coast, so just a few clouds here from Yakutat back into Prince William Sound. Skies clearing out, moisture now shifting off to the east, most of it heading into the Yukon. So mostly clear skies here from Cook Inlet up into the central interior. A little bit of a high pressure area, about 1,018 millibars there, centered over the Koyukuk Valley. That's going to keep conditions dry and mostly clear all the way to the southwest coast. Easterly flow, offshore flow, pushing the clouds off the coast. So it should be pretty good VFR here right up to Nunivak Island into most of Norton Sound. And then this weak low now really weakening as it moves northward. That'll keep a few showers in over the northwest coast. And a trough will produce some areas of light snow and fog from the eastern Arctic coastal area, or the western Arctic coast, down into the eastern North Slope areas. And now southeast flow pulling more moisture up along this frontal boundary here, so periods of rain for the Alaska Peninsula, mixed rain and snow becoming just rain during the afternoon for the eastern Aleutian areas. Snow showers continue out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, scattered snow showers. Otherwise, some moisture here, southeast flow pulling some moisture, either showers or light rain, fog and drizzle into Kodiak Island. So that could result in some marginal VFR, possibly even IFR along the eastern side of the island. Temperatures this afternoon, again, upper 30s to upper 40s across the Panhandle. Warm spots this afternoon, Sitka and Metlakatla both at 48 degrees, 10 degrees cooler at Yakutat and Juneau, 40 over at Cordova, Valdez 34, same thing at Homer, but almost 40 there at Seward, 32 in Kenai, 20 degrees and some light snow in Gulkana, 12 degrees at Northway, 10 at Delta, 3 above there at Fairbanks, 14 Tanana, and Galena at 16, Bettles -3, 5 above at Fort Yukon, and then the -20s here, 24 below at Arctic Village, and Sagwan at -27, otherwise Umiat at 19 below. Milder out along the coast with temperatures running 5 to 10 below zero, but Point Lay at -14. Otherwise, we had 3 degrees at Point Hope, 18 at Kotzebue, 22 at Deering, Shishmaref 18 degrees, 20s on the south side of the peninsula here, and for the southwest interior, upper 20s to near 30, but cooler around McGrath with 15 and up to 24 at Sparavon. Mid to upper 20s from Nunivak Island up along the Yukon Delta coast. And out to the west, we had lower 30s for the Pribilofs and lower 30s here for Bristol Bay, 29 at Cold Bay this afternoon, 36 at Nikolsky. Still freezing at Unalaska, mid 30s for Adak and Atka. For the lows tonight, mid 30s to lower 40s for the southeast coastal areas, mid 20s south central Alaska, upper 20s Kodiak Island, dropping into the teens here across Bristol Bay and over the southwest interior, but still teens and 20s for the Seward Peninsula, and then the 0 degree isotherm there right about through the Tanana Valley, 15 to 30 below for the northeast areas and the north slope. For highs tomorrow, staying below zero, Arctic coast and north slope again into the northeast interior, lower 30s south central Alaska with mid 30s along the coast, 30s to 40s over the Panhandle. Flying weather, marginal VFR again, mostly central and southern areas there with VFR along the eastern Gulf Coast, Copper River Basin, and again with that band of moisture right through here, marginal VFR with areas of IFR from the Kenai Peninsula right up into the Northwest Valleys, and then more IFR from the St. Lawrence Island area to the Seward Peninsula, and out over the eastern Bering Sea, dropping into the eastern Aleutians. Passes, wrong way, Anatuvik, VFR tomorrow on both approaches with that again, same forecast. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR becoming VFR in the afternoon as the moisture pulls off to the east. And rainy, same pattern there, improving during the morning. Windy, VFR becoming marginal VFR, so moisture shifts up from the south. And for Isabel, marginal VFR at times. Mentasta, occasionally marginal. Tanita, marginal VFR. Portage, one more day of IFR. For Chilkoot and White, marginal conditions. Freezing levels, surface here cutting across the Bering Sea, across Kuskokwim Bay, and then hugging the coastline here and dropping along and east of the southeast coast with 2,000 feet now up along the North Gulf Coast area. And for icing tomorrow, between about 3,000 to 9,000 feet here over the southeast coast, more significant icing probably down over the southern areas. And then a swath here from the western Gulf of Alaska across south central Alaska on up into the interior, and some more icing possibilities there for the eastern Aleutians and that lifting north of the central Aleutians by midday tomorrow. Upper level wind flow chart showing continuation of that strong jet across the Pacific, then taking a turn to the north here at about 150, 155 west, but only about 30 to 40 knots now, so really not all that strong. Still an upper low off the southeast coast. And for 9,000 foot winds, 25 to 30 knots with this low here off the Panhandle. Light and more variable over the eastern and even central interior, but a narrow band of southwesterlies turning southerly there across Norton Sound at 25 to 30 knots. light winds over the southeast Bering and southeasterlies 35 over the Fox Islands, 15 to 25 knot winds over the Aleutians, and at 3,000 feet we've got some northwesterlies from Kamishak Bay across the Barren Islands at about 20 to 25 knots, lighter over Kodiak Island, southeast 25 to 30 along the southeast coast, light and variable winds Prince William Sound all the way up until you reach the Arctic coast and become east-southeasterly at about 25. Turbulence-wise, not a whole lot. Maybe some light, isolated, moderate chop here along the southeast coast, smooth over the interior, and then from actually Norton Sound up along the western and Arctic coast there, occasional light to moderate chop, and possibly here for the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians as well. And that all below about 4,000 to 6,000 feet. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
The reality is the snowpack's stable about 90% of the time. And that's where timing comes in, is recognizing that other 10% of the time when the snowpack is unstable. If you're skiing the same way 100% of the time, 1 out of 10 times you're going to get into trouble. But if you have the skills to recognize those unstable periods, that other 10% of the time, then you're going to be able to ski safely 100% of the time.
The ultimate question is, will the slope slide? The answer is that any slope can slide. It depends on the amount of force applied to it. For instance, on a very stable snowpack where a skier is perfectly safe, the fall of a large cornice might be enough force to trigger an avalanche. As snow becomes less stable, a skier might barely get down safely, while on the same slope, a medium-sized cornice might trigger an avalanche. In the next step up the instability scale, both a cornice and a skier may trigger an avalanche, but if left undisturbed, the snowpack could remain in place indefinitely. Finally, at the top of the instability scale, natural spontaneous avalanches begin to occur, and this, of course, is the most obvious sign of instability.
I mean, if you see an avalanche come down, it's pretty obvious that you've got an unstable situation. Although we say it's obvious, you'd be surprised how some people manage to avoid the obvious by overlooking this.
The problem that you're faced with when you're traveling in the backcountry is one of uncertainty. And you really have two choices. One is that you can just charge blindly ahead, and that would be similar to finding the busiest street in a town that you lived in and going across it without looking both ways and listening for the traffic. The other one is to seek information from a variety of clues, a variety of sources, and piece that information, integrate it. And what you're doing is you're looking for the most meaningful information you can find. That's the information that's going to reduce your uncertainty. So let's say that you're standing on the edge of a steep snow-filled slope. Picture that you have a big circle, and within that circle is all of the information available to you. One of those pieces of information might be the temperature outside is 12 degrees. Well, if I tell you that, you're going to say, great. What does that do? What does that tell me about whether or not this slope is safe to ski? Now, another information, if I draw another circle and I say, oh, there have been north winds blowing and there's a foot of powder on the ground, and you're on a southerly slope. Well, maybe that slope is loading. That information might come from the middle of the circle. Now, if you're standing on the edge of that steep snow-filled slope and all of a sudden the slope goes, harumph, and a sister path right next to that one releases to the ground right in front of you, well, that tells you a lot to eliminate your uncertainty. And what you're doing, this is called the bullseye approach, and what you're trying to do when you're seeking information in the backcountry is go for the bullseye. Go for the information that's going to let you know whether or not that slope is safe. Clues include avalanche activity on similar slopes and similar aspects. It might be a rumphing noise, which is a collapse of a weak layer. It might be a hollow sound telling you there's some kind of weaker, less dense layer underneath. It might be a shooting crack telling you that the snow is capable of storing elastic energy, of propagating fractures. You're not going to necessarily have all those clues at once, but you'll have some combination. And you're also asking, is the weather contributing to instability? And the big three weather factors are temperature, wind, and precipitation. And of those, precipitation and wind are probably the major ones.
Any rapid change in the mechanical or thermal energy state of the snowpack is a precursor of avalanching. If the snow just sits there and nothing's happening, nothing is apt to happen. But as soon as you get deposition of a new layer of snow, or either by wind drift or by precipitation, a rapid change in the temperature of the snowpack at temperatures below freezing. I emphasize rapid, and if you look at the forecast, the occurrence of avalanches, again and again you see that they're preceded by some sort of a rapid change in the energy state of the snowpack. Probably the key question for snow stability in respect to temperature is it above or below freezing? If it's above freezing, you're dealing with wet snow conditions, and you have a whole different pattern of snow avalanche release than if you're dealing with cold snow.
Wet snow is fascinating. We have a lot of rain on snow events that can close our mountain passes for days at a time, and those are so obvious that you wouldn't even be in the backcountry. So you can't even get to the backcountry because it's closed by avalanches.
With a lot of the topography on Mount McKinley, you have these phenomenal ice or solar balls which have nothing but white snow rising up for thousands of feet, radiating itself onto a center area. If you're getting on steep snow and you're post-holing up to your butt and it's very wet in these solar areas, you're out of line. You shouldn't be there. You know, you should be there when the temperatures are cold and it's fairly stable.
Although signs of instability in weather conditions give important clues about snow stability, often the most important information comes from the active tests you can perform on the snowpack.
Test it out. If you're, zigzagging up a slope, be sure to kick some snow off if you can, or if you find a snow-covered stump or a little rock outcrop that gives a little extra steepness to the slope that's in a safe place, ski into it, take a big jump on it, and see if you can get things to trigger.
There's something that gives you a very quick indication of snow stability, and that's a little ski pole test where you poke your ski pole down into the snowpack and it will tell you the hardness of the different layers of snow. The little armpit snow tests, or just scooping with your hands to see what the different layers are like, I would do them several times at the beginning of the run. Anytime I stop, just about it's an automatic reaction to sit there and poke the snow. You may think you have a nervous twitch or something, but anytime you're on a new aspect, a new elevation, you would definitely do every little thing that you can to see what the snow stability is.
Welcome back. Small craft advisories here along the coast from the south in the southern areas. Easterly winds 20 to 30 knots for the north coast. Small craft advisories, northern Lynn Canal, and northeast 20 for Stevens Passage, becoming southeast. Same speed there for Clarence Strait. And then for Thursday, winds dropping back to northeast there at 15 for the north coast. Small craft advisories here south to southeast at 25. And northerlies at 20 knots. Lynn Canal down into the central inside waters. Clarence Strait diminishing down to 25 with seas at 5 feet. And for the North Gulf Coast, east winds at 20 tomorrow. Light winds for Prince William Sound and Cook Inlet. Northwesterlies 20 to 25 knots there out of Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. 15 to 20 knot northwesterlies across Kodiak Island. And we'll go through some small craft advisories here for east winds increasing to 25 knots there for Kodiak Island. Northeast Shelikof Strait up into Augustine Island. And northeast, east-northeast, 10 to 15 knots for the North Gulf Coast. Pretty light winds continue, variable to northeast for Prince William Sound and northern Cook Inlet. And for Bristol Bay, east winds at 15 tomorrow, and then gales, 35 knot easterlies here on the Pacific side of the peninsula. Small craft advisories there to the north. And even stronger winds in store for Thursday with good gales here for the peninsula, 35 to 40 knots out of the east, 30 knot winds for Bristol Bay and also from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. Out in the Aleutians, the western Aleutians winds diminishing down to 20 knots. Gales here, 30 to 35 knot northeasterlies for the central Aleutians and easterlies at 30 to 35 for the Fox Islands. And then for Thursday, 30 to 40 knot winds from the east-southeast here for the eastern Aleutians, seas 10 to 17 feet. Northerlies, small craft northerlies for the central Aleutians, and that extends all the way out to Shemya. For the southwest coast, south to southeast, 20 knots tomorrow with 5 to 7 foot seas. Winds becoming variable there for St. Lawrence Island at about 20, northeast at 20 for the northern Bering Sea, southeast 15 for the Pribilofs. And then on Thursday, things pick up here over the southern Bering Sea with the Pribilofs. 35 knot northeasterly, seas building to 11 feet. South of Nunivak Island, we've got minimum gales there, and small craft advisories north of the island. Small crafts also out here over the northern Bering Sea, but winds coming down to 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island. And for the eastern Arctic coast, winds on the light side, easterlies maybe up to 15 knots there, then picking up to 25 for the central coast. Brisk wind advisories on the east side, and from Cape Beaufort all the way down to Wales, gale warnings are flying. Then for Thursday, those winds lighten up considerably here from Wales to Cape Thompson, east at 10, northeast 20 here for the western coast, central coast northeast 15, easterlies 5 to 15 on the east side. And for tonight again, rain and wind continue here over the southeast coast. The main front pushes through, so it'll be more showery in nature, but so numerous that it'll probably just be flat out rain over the southern areas, more scattered in the north. Mostly dry over the North Gulf Coast. Snow, maybe a few inches here, Kenai Peninsula across Cook Inlet and onto the northwest. Winter weather advisories continue for the for St. Lawrence Island and the Seward Peninsula, as well as the Yukon Delta, for several more inches of snow, gusty winds, reducing visibilities. Otherwise, becoming dry here under a weak area high pressure from Bristol Bay into the southwest or up into the northwest. That pattern holds through tomorrow, and this trough will keep snow going maybe a few more inches here over northern Cook Inlet from the Kenai Peninsula back to the northwest, and it stays wet and breezy over the Panhandle. And then the outlook for Friday is this front, good southeast winds coming up across the peninsula, so periods of rain from about Port Hayden on down into the eastern Aleutians, and snow showers over the Bering Sea. Showers mostly off the coast now, high pressure and dry over the interior.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.